What do we make of the Athletics report on Russell Wilson as far as fantasy football drafts go? Is there an AFC West running back that you have to avoid at his current ADP? And what NFC West team do you have to start fading in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball tournaments? Plus, the $50,000 runner-up in the 2022-2023 Football Guys Playoff Challenge, Charlie McGuire, is going to join us to discuss the Kyle Trask-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what NFC East running back is now a bargain in drafts, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Terpoli is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
The pressure, I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture, are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all the Balkaholics out there. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. My co-host is normally the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Farrell Elliott. He is off tonight. We'll tell you where he is in a second. But before I get into bringing in my co-host for this evening, I do want to remind everybody, if you are looking for some fantasy football drafting fun right now, not only do we have closed 12-team leagues open at the FFPC, but you can win $25,000 in the 2023 FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Just $125 to get in that one. Or if you want to plunk down just $35, you can win $5,000 in the 2023 FFPC Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball Tournament as well. Both those tournaments are going to run up until the start of the NFL Draft. They're going to end on April 27th. So we got a little bit more than 2 months to get your drafts in there. They're going to follow best ball slim rules, no kickers, no defenses, 20-round draft, 14-week regular season, and single elimination playoffs in weeks 15 through 17. And after week 17 is when we crown the champion. Drafts are available at 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 hour, and 6 hour per pick timers. And of course, you can check that out at myffpc.com. While you're there, check out a ton of the great dynasty orphan teams that we have out there too. A lot of reduced price ones. We got some fresh ones up there again today. So if you want to take the next step in your fantasy football for 365 days a year, New Year's resolution, I know we're in February, but I know some of you started this as well. I want to play more fantasy football. You have the opportunity to with Dynasty Fantasy Football at myffpc.com. Make sure you are checking those out. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you to like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to the channel, and then share it with your friends, and then get notified anytime we go live. When you have the great content that we've been able to put out here, not only with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour and the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, which features some of the best players in the world coming on to give you their advice and how they've been so successful at fantasy football. You also have live best ball tournament coverage. We have live main event tournament coverage, live $350 tournament coverage as well on all those right now. Plus, don't forget about the weekly previews that we put out during the season with our man Aiden LaCorey and the guy who's filling in for Farrell Elliott tonight. Welcome in right now. You know him, you love him. He is the incomparable Dave Terpoli. Dave, welcome in tonight, man.
I missed that intro. Love that song. Love it.
Oh, yeah. You know, we've gotten, who was the other guy that asked me about that? I think it was Bill. Oh, this is going to irritate me. He was in Kentucky. He's a former guest of the show. This is really going to irritate me. He loves that song, which is Pressure by the Quiet Howlers. You can download it anywhere you download music.
Very catchy.
And Farrell Elliott is a manager. He's the manager for that band, which is why we use that to come in. And then we always use the outro that we use too is now I forget the name of that song. It's been so long, but it is by another band that Farrell manages called Frederick the Younger, who I've actually seen play. They actually came to Appleton, Wisconsin a few years ago. I got to see them play there. They're fantastic. So we have Farrell Elliott managed music acts bookending the show, Dave.
Scary.
It kind of is. Yeah, so Farrell, I didn't put two and two together, but Dave the Dizzle Gerzak told me that he was going to be in Las Vegas this weekend with Farrell, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then Farrell called me, I think Wednesday or Tuesday. I can't remember what it was. He's like, yeah, I don't think I'll be able to do the show this week. Yeah, no problem. I didn't even think of it. And then today, I got a photo in one of the group texts I'm a part of a picture of Farrell in Vegas with Dave. And I'm
That's
like,
scary.
oh, that's why he couldn't do the show. Yeah, I don't know if Vegas is going to be yeah. They could burn the town down tonight, Dave. Anything's possible.
1,000% accurate on that one.
Coming up on tonight's show, Dave Terpoli and I are going to talk about whether Evan Engram's ADP makes him draftable right now, whether a certain sophomore in the AFC South is ready for a breakout, and then the $50,000 runner-up in the 2022-2023 Football Guys Playoff Challenge. Charlie McGuire is going to sit in to talk about some fantasy football analysis, some fantasy football advice that he's able to offer from his wealth of experience playing on a ton of platforms over a long period of time. We're going to get into that, I would say, in a little bit less than 10 minutes. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so at HSFF or at Eric Balkman. And Dave, you're on Twitter. Is it just Dave Terp? I always forget.
Correct.
Okay, Dave Terp on Twitter. Follow Dave there as well. Facebook.com/HSFFR. You can email the show, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com, like many of you did this week. If you have any questions for us, for Dave, for Charlie, send them in now. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails coming up in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Before we let you go, enjoy your weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course, our producer and mutual friend Rob. Here is tonight's Fantasy Flash. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has reported that NFL teams have draft grades ranging from the first round all the way to the fourth round for the University of Florida Gators quarterback Anthony Richardson. Jeremy Fowler said that he can't remember a bigger variance league-wide on a feeling a quarterback than Richardson. One NFL GM told Fowler that Richardson is Cam Newton and Justin Fields combined. Wow, that's awesome. Fowler said that he thinks the team could take Richardson early in the draft and have him develop for a season, but that's always difficult to do if you're unfortunate enough to have a high pick. You probably don't want to have your top pick sit on the bench for the full season. I have already said about this, Dave, and I don't know how much dynasty stuff and rookie stuff you've gotten into. I've already said, like, even watching Anthony Richardson last year, this is a guy that what he's able to do with the football with his legs, it's awesome. It's unbelievable. He's going to come in and be a great NFL rushing quarterback from day one. The problem is, I don't know if he's going to be a good enough passer to compete for your team, your NFL team, and give them a chance to win. And if that's the case, I don't know how valuable he is. Not only, I mean, forget rookie drafts for a second here, even in super flex drafts, that's a different conversation. But you talk about drafting him in the best ball, never too early best ball tournament. Yeah, there's a significant amount of upside there, but to me, the floor is too low. I've kind of already made up my mind on Anthony Richardson unless somebody changes it. I know the odds actually switched. I think this week he went from like plus 5,000 to be the first pick overall to like plus 750, which is a massive move. I don't know, man. I don't know your feelings on Richardson. I am really, really, he's sketchy to me as far as a pro prospect.
I definitely like him a lot more than you do. There is that built-in worry, though. He has to go to the right system, the right fit, the right coaches. They have to develop a game plan, especially early on, because like you said, throwing the football is going to be a question. 13 starts he's had so far, in his college career. That's crazy. He's going to go to the combine. He's going to put on all the show.
Yep.
And he's realistically probably going to get into the top 5. Does he belong there? It's tough because there's so many teams that need quarterbacks. There's so many new coaches that are starting from scratch. And you got to look at yourself. Do you want to go after a guy like Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold to be your one-year guy? Or do you want to just hand it over to Anthony Richardson and see what happens?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, big risk. I think he's worth the risk just because, like you said, the rushing upside is immense. I mean, you've seen the success of Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, and you keep going on the list. Justin Fields. Do I think he has a potential to get there? Of course, but again, without the coaching around him, it could be a disaster. He's my second quarterback in the draft. I think he's right behind Young. I think his upsides is too high to pass, overall, but he has to go to the right system. He can't go to like some of these teams that are just like if he went to the Raiders, I think it's just a disaster.
Right.
Josh McDaniels, he 1 year, Derek Carr, see ya, Jarrett Stidham, I don't even with Devontae Adams there, I could see that just blowing up, and then Vegas, atmosphere type of pressure it's going to be building. I think that's a terrible spot for Richardson. I think that's been a popular trade up, where the Raiders go up and get that pick. I don't like that spot. I think there's better spots for him. I would like to see him go to the Colts. I think that's a place he could definitely do well. And they could still get that 1 year guy because that team's a little bit more ready to win. But I like Richardson. The built-in risk is there, but with so many teams that need quarterbacks, you've seen this year the quarterback play has been dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the worst it's been in a really long time. So if you got a coaching staff that thinks they can get the top-notch upside out of them, go for it.
I was talking with a couple of my buddies today, and we're trying to figure out who the second best quarterback is in the NFC. And you think, well, that's easy. I mean, it's got to be somebody obvious there. There's really not. I mean, it's Jalen Hurts, and then who is it?
It's definitely. It's definitely Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know if it definitely is. That's the thing. I don't know if it definitely is.
I mean, we'll get there, but I think it's him. I mean, but after that, then you can really get to like a dark, drop off. I mean, there's no Brady anymore.
Right.
Stafford, who knows if he even loves football anymore. I mean, is Justin Fields going to take the next step? Do they even believe in him? Is he even going to be a Bear?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott. I mean, I think that story has already written itself. I mean,
we know your feelings on Dak Prescott and all Cowboys.
That's not going to change. That's never going to change. He's a very good regular season quarterback, but he's not somebody I'll ever trust in the playoffs.
The Athletic reported today, I read the whole thing. Pretty interesting stuff here. There's a trio of reporters who worked on this, but in the report, Russell Wilson apparently last February asked Seahawks ownership to fire both head coach Pete Carroll and the GM John Schneider. Again, this is according to the report today. Russell Wilson has already come out and denied that ever took place on Twitter. Apparently, Russell Wilson wanted Sean Payton to be his next head coach in Seattle. And now he is going to be his next head coach in Denver. It was such that this is something we're going to be talking about all offseason. We've continued to talk about it basically since the Super Bowl, since Sean Payton took over in Denver. Dave, I haven't gotten your thoughts on this, but Denver looked absolutely terrible under Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson's first year in Denver last year. What do you think they do? How big is the turnaround going to be for Russell Wilson now that he has Sean Payton there? Think about the other weapons. We'll get to Javonte Williams in a second, but you think about Dulcich, you think about Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, some playmakers on the perimeter there. KJ Hamler, we'll talk about him as well. But your thoughts on Denver this year under Sean Payton?
Saying they were absolutely terrible last year is giving them a compliment because they were just disgusting to watch play football. They had some flashes at the end of the season, Jeudy, here and there, but just watching them play football, Russell Wilson was just abysmal. This report that comes out to me is a massive, massive red flag. I mean, of course, it could just be reporters talking and you're trying to stir up trouble. But you hear the rumors of he had his own office on the second floor away from the team. Like, what is true and what's not true? Sean Payton, I'm guessing, did his homework before he signed on the dotted line and knows all this stuff. Knew this stuff could come out. So they can't get any worse. He is a very good offensive mind. I think Sean Payton's a little bit of an overrated coach. They have enough talent there. I mean, hopefully they can unlock Courtland Sutton, who I was extremely high on last year, but he didn't look great, even, with terrible Russell Wilson. Jeudy, I still think, a player. I, loved him coming out of college. The tight end, showed flashes at the end of the season. They can't be any worse. They're still well behind the Chiefs, well behind the Chargers. They're probably right there with the Raiders. They're still not a playoff team. They might make a couple wins, but unless Russell Wilson gets back to the days of Seattle when he was good, I don't think they have enough to overcome even with the new coaching staff.
Another guy that I think I am down on more so than the drafting public right now is DeAndre Swift in Detroit. Colton Pouncey, who covers the Lions for The Athletic, said, quote, "I'm not sure there's a future between the Lions and DeAndre Swift, given Swift's injury history and the money he'd likely want. He will want this money. I don't know if they'd work on an extension or new contract for him right now, but this is his contract year. He will be a free agent at the end of the season. It sounds like, more and more. I shout out to Dan Williamson from the GOAT District podcast, who's been saying this for quite a while now, that Jamal Williams is going to resign in Detroit. So it seems to back up a lot of what the beat writers are saying right now, that Williams is going to be back. I don't know, man. Like I asked, Pat Kerrane was on the High Stakes Fantasy Football show with me last night on the Better Sports Network, and he's definitely higher on Swift than me. But running back 14 at the end of the third round, okay, maybe I can kind of get on board with them there, but I'm certainly not targeting him. There's other guys I like. Pat was talking about how he loved Tony Pollard, who's going after Swift. He liked him a lot better than Swift. You think about Dalvin Cook. I like Aaron Jones better than Swift, and Aaron Jones is going a round and a half later than DeAndre Swift. What are your thoughts on DeAndre Swift this year? Is he a guy you'll be looking at that 3-4 turn?
Love the player. The player is not the question. The situation, we say this all the time. The coaching staff just doesn't love him. I mean, I don't understand why. He's clearly their best running back. Jamal Williams, that was cute last year, but if you just give half those touchdowns to Swift, we're talking about a first, second round pick. I mean, but it didn't happen, and there wasn't even a thought of it happening. Every time they were at the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, it was Jamal Williams. So I don't know if you can take him at that spot. If he gets traded, then it'll depend on where he goes. But the talent, you just see so many flashes of greatness. You see a flash of a number one running back upside, in my opinion. Love the player, but the situation, if they're bringing back Jamal Williams, like, I feel like you can find better at the 3-4 turn. I mean, I'll still have some of them, but he's not a target, early on, without, so much unknown. I mean, they could draft a running back in the top, 3 or 4 rounds. Then what happens? I mean, they were giving the ball to Reynolds and Justin Jackson from the streets, like, and Swift was just hanging out on the sidelines. So it's definitely a worry. If Jamal Williams comes back, it's definitely not a 3rd or 4th round pick for me.
Finally, somebody who I'm on the same page with Swift is you. That makes me feel better, Dave. Final point I want to bring up, because we got Charlie McGuire in the green room right now waiting to come on, the $50,000 runner-up in the Football Guys Playoff Challenge last year. But Jeff Legwald, who covers the Broncos for ESPN, he writes that Javonte Williams' multiple knee ligament tears could keep him out well into the 2023 season. Now, there is a charity event during the 2022 season that Javonte Williams was asked about his knee injury. He said he hoped to be back by training camp, but this was a significant knee injury. And you think about Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins when they struggled to come back from their ACL, which by all reports were cleaner tears than what Javonte Williams had. Now, he should be good under Sean Payton, but for a guy who could miss, according to the beat writer, and who knows? I mean, he could be wrong. He doesn't know right now, but this is what he's saying. Maybe this is what he's hearing around the building. But Javonte Williams, running back 19 at the 507, Dameon Pierce, Jahmyr Gibbs, J.K. Dobbins, Alvin Kamara, all those guys are going after Javonte Williams. And Terp, I think I might like all of those guys better because they're not coming off a significant ACL tear. These are the types of guys that are just easy guys to cross off my board. I don't want to mess around with a guy who is coming off that significant of an injury when I have to pay a mid-5th round price tag to get him.
There's only 2 guys on this list so far, but I will own 0% of Javonte Williams next year. Absolutely no interest. Still early in the game. I usually don't blackball too many guys this early because there's a lot of stuff to, worry and see. Obviously, that could happen. He's one of them. No interest at all. That injury, the beat writer comes out, says all that stuff. Yeah, it could just be a little smoke and mirrors, but like you said, it wasn't a clean tear. It was a very, very bad injury. No thanks. 0% Javonte Williams. I have no interest in him at all.
Yeah, I'm all for looking for upside in the draft, but I'm not looking for upside.
There's no guarantee that Sean Payton's going to make him the guy either. I mean,
and then that's true too. I mean, new offensive coordinator,
new draft the guy. I mean, there's going to be plenty of free agents. The free agent running back class this year is, I wouldn't say stacked, but there's a lot of solid guys who get put in, the good spots, and especially Denver. I mean, Sean Payton's going to run the football, and his guys, are fantasy football relevant. I just don't think it's going to be Javonte Williams. He's a guy that, like I said, 0%. won't even think about drafting. Definitely not in the 5th round.
Definitely not in the 5th round for sure. His price is going to, and I bet his
gamble
age,
like late, but by that time you'll know the news, so
right,
it won't be relevant by then. Definitely not now in the 5th round.
I think his ADP will fall because people will realize this as we get closer to the start of the season, how far off he is. But I don't know if it's ever going to fall to a spot that I'm comfortable taking him in. You mentioned the free agent class. We have a ton of names out there in free agency at the running back position. We also have a pretty good running back class in the draft too. And makes me wonder how teams are going to treat running backs this year.
Spend money on running backs.
They may not spend, but they may not have to, because it is such a buyer's market for free agent running backs right now that these running backs might. I think we've I can't remember if I've said this on the show before, but I think that's a big reason that Aaron Jones and his agency decided to redo his deal with Green Bay to take the pay cut, because he's coming up on 30 years old. He looks at a flush running back market out there. You know, there's no guarantee he's going to get the kind of money that Green Bay was already paying him.
Barkley's going to get his money because he's just going to. Mm-hmm. Should he get it? No, but he's going to get it.
Right.
After that, Pollard's going to probably get franchised. But besides that, who's getting big money?
There's no one that's my point. Like there's nobody out there that because there are so many really good players out there, nobody's going to be, at least I don't think there's going to be a GM out there that's going to give a serious running back contract. Now, you think about Joe Mixon and some of these other guys that are free agents. I don't know. All right. Let's talk to a guy who does know about these things and so much more. He's been playing fantasy football since the early 1990s. It's not a money thing for him, he says. He just loves the thrill of the high-stakes competition. Met so many friends over the years, really enjoys talking, competing, hanging out with them. Plays fantasy football with RT Sports, the FFPC, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, and Data Force. Usually 100 leagues or more, and one of those leagues that he was lucky enough to cash in last year paid him $50,000. It was the 2022-2023 Footballguys Playoff Challenge. He took second place overall. Please welcome onto the show Charlie McGuire. Charlie, welcome in tonight, man. Thanks so much for joining us. Certainly appreciate you spending your Friday night with us, dude.
Well, thank you,
Charlie. You got us
for inviting me. I feel very humbled to be in this crowd because, like you said when you were there, a lot of great players, Chad Schroeder, and on and on and on. So I'm my name to be mentioned with these guys, and I just thank you for inviting me.
Well, you hit the big time. A 5-figure prize is certainly big. We're going to get into that with you and what you're going to spend that money on. But what are you doing right now? How are you spending your time? Are you a working man? What are you doing during your days when you are not playing all these fantasy football leagues?
No, I spent 24 years with the Air Force, and then I spent another 16 years with Lockheed Martin, and I'm retired now twice. And I lost my wife. I'm a loner now, so I have a lot to do to take care of my home, my garden. I grew up on the farm, so I love still working with the garden and orders, and so you don't know at my age I have to go slow because the way I feel today I'm tomorrow.
And I get it. And sympathies too for sympathies from myself and Dave for losing your wife, and congratulations on the double retirement, and thank you for your service in the Air Force.
Absolutely,
we are very thankful for that. But we while we could talk forever on that, Dave does want to ask you about this ride that you were on during the NFL playoffs.
As you watched the NFL playoffs, when did you realize that you could win some serious money? When did it first started clicking?
Charlie, we still got you? Well, we might have lost Charlie. We may have lost Charlie. Let's see if we can get him back here. Listen, live YouTube stream. Anything can happen, and usually does. I think we got him back. Charlie, when Dave wanted to know when did you realize that you might win some serious cash in the Footballguys Playoff Challenge last year?
Well, Sunday morning, I was looking at the leaderboard, and I was well, actually Saturday night I was 280, and I said, well, that's not too good. But then I got to looking at the point differential, and it was only about, I think, about 15 points between 280 and the first place team. So I said, well, that's not too bad. I really hadn't got too interested in it because I've been really sick for the last 2 or 3 months. I hadn't been home. So I said, so I didn't think on Sunday morning, and I don't remember in 40 days. So that's get it up because that says, then I started looking at the people, Kelsey and Hertz catch me, and I've got a pretty good lead in the second place now. That's really looking good, and then Hertz looking at it, and it was getting better and better because now it was a solid second. And this guy, I couldn't catch him because he had Kelsey also. And so it was just, like I told you earlier, it was just one of those things when it all worked out.
The perfect storm.
Each game like a simulcast in my own mind. And I picked out a player from each team that I wanted to keep. And I faded some of the ones that people thought would really go off because that's what everybody else was doing too. And that's the real key because the first players. And I just played each game out, picked out my the people I wanted on my team, 6 teams. The other 5 didn't do anything. I had Hertz. I had Hertz, Allen, and I forget my other quarterbacks. But that's a tough one to only pick one player. You know, you take them home, you can't have a Kelsey. And faded Seattle and Miami because of Miami's quarterback situation. And I figured Philadelphia would win it all. I didn't think anybody could beat them, but I didn't trust AJ or Devontae to come through each game for me. So I said, hey, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan.
So you're a Dallas Cowboys fan?
Philadelphia to make it all the way. And hope and hope he can have a good game for me. And he did.
And he did. He absolutely did. He had a great game for you. Charlie, I this is good. This is good stuff. If I could pick your brain on just the playoff challenge stuff, I would, but I do want to move on to talk about some of the other topics. I know you haven't started drafting yet for 2023. At least I don't think you have. Right now, the Buccaneers have Kyle Trask in at quarterback. Do you believe that he is going to be the guy for Tampa this year? Or do you think that they're going to sign somebody else that's still going to make guys like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, K-Dot, and fantasy relevant this year?
I think we lost him again.
Did we lose him?
Still got there?
Still got him. Still got him. Charlie, do hold on. I apologize for the technical difficulties here.
Technology is undefeated.
It is undefeated. Charlie, do you like it? I mean, how do you look at the Buccaneers now without Brady? How would you be drafting these guys this year? Still nothing?
Nah, he's frozen.
All right. I'm going to bounce him out right now. I'm going to see if I can contact him. And, well, Dave, while we're waiting for Charlie, how do you view the Buccaneers this year without Brady? I mean, they got to bring somebody else in.
I mean, obviously Brady kept that team together. I mean, last year was a little bit of disaster. Actually, it was a lot disaster. I mean, Fournette likely gone, Rachaad White taken over, Evans or Godwin maybe traded. I mean, there's a lot of questions in Tampa Bay. Do they try to tank for Caleb Williams? And is that why they're using Kyle Trask? And the coach is coming out saying that, he's the best quarterback in the division. That's crazy because he's never played an NFL real snap that was meaningful. So I don't know. I mean, Godwin's always a guy that I would target over Evans. Well, could they add somebody? It'd be cool if they brought back Jameis Winston for a year just to throw the ball around. Reignite the offense of a couple of years ago. That'd be fun. But I think one of the Godwin and Evans get traded. Probably Godwin because he has more value. So he's definitely a guy to watch. But there's so many questions in Tampa Bay. They're a wait and see for me.
Charlie, how do you view the Buccaneers in the post-Brady era?
Well, I agree with Dave. I like Godwin a lot. Back, if you don't know anything about to a good team, offense, and a good quarterback. I think him they don't pick up. I don't see anything good.
Frozen?
Looks like it.
I think so, yeah. All right. Charlie, let's move on here. And I apologize, we're having some internet connection issues with you right now. Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. I mean, we don't know if he is going to be a Raven this year or if he's going to be with another team at all. Terp, I'll let you handle this first. Is he too risky to draft right now as the 7th quarterback off the board?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't see a way he doesn't play somewhere. I mean, it's very likely to be Ravens. I mean, what else are they going to do? I've never been the biggest Lamar Jackson fan as a quarterback, but what are they just going to start over and do what? Their draft pick isn't good. They don't have, a ton of assets. Nobody really wants to play receiver with Lamar Jackson, but his rushing upside and his game-breaking ability, I mean, you've seen it. You've seen him be quarterback one, week after week after week after week. Last year, between the injury and just, inconsistencies, fell off a little bit. But I expect the Ravens to, you would think, add some talent at receiver in free agency and most importantly, the draft. I mean, trading Hollywood Brown last year, Bateman got hurt. Duvernay, started off, pretty solid, but he is what he is. I'm not a Mark Andrews guy. I just think he's a good tight end. I wouldn't classify him in the great category. He's definitely somebody who's getting wildly overdrafted right now, but that's another subject. I think Lamar Jackson's a good value right now, quarterback. I mean, drafts right now, Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, Fields, Lawrence, they're just getting way pushed up the draft board because of the uncertainty surrounding everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a Jackson guy who's pretty much in that caliber when he's playing, it's worth the risk.
Charlie, we'll go to you one more time here to see if we can get your thoughts on one of your Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott. He is now an 11th round pick in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Is he a guy that you would look at drafting this year because he has fallen so far? This is probably the lowest he's ever gone.
Still frozen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Charlie, I emailed you. Oh, that's too bad. I emailed Charlie to see if there's something you could do with his internet connection. In the meantime, we'll persevere here. Dave.
I know that question.
Yeah, I know it pains you to talk about this.
Because that's the easiest answer in the world. Just keep letting them pass. I don't care.
So even in the 11th round, you don't want to take Ezekiel Elliott?
Dallas. Man. The only place he has value is in Dallas. That's right. It. If he leaves Dallas, he is literally worthless because no team is going to put up with an average NFL running back. I hope he leaves Dallas because we all know what I think of Tony Pollard and the potential of that running game, with him. Mm-hmm. But Elliott in the 11th round, no. Just it has to be in Dallas, and he has a chance. He does the Aaron Jones thing and takes a pay cut, but I heard it's a massive pay cut. Yeah, and he's an arrogant guy, so I don't know if he might just say I might go somewhere else and show you I can do it. Hopefully wasn't the report? Right.
Wasn't the report that we got was saying that he was willing to take a pay cut?
Yeah, but I heard he was willing to take the pay cut, but from all the reports that I was reading, it's going to be a massive, massive pay cut.
Oh, so he was willing to take a pay cut, but not what
yeah,
it would
there's a
take.
difference between going from I don't know his base salary off the top of my head. Let's just say 13 down to 7. Okay, fine. But I was hearing it was like 13 down to 3 and 2. Like I could see him just being like, "Nah, I'm good. I'll just go get it on the open market." And the only person going to be calling is the XFL, maybe.
Right. Yes. Well, maybe the USFL too.
Maybe
That's the other one.
I mean, he has options.
Does that mean that you're all in on Pollard at running back 15 at the 404? I mean, you think he's going to get franchised, so he should be back with the team. And Brian Schottenheimer is the new quarterback who loves running the football there. This should be wheels up for Tony Pollard, right?
I said it and I'll say it again. If Tony Pollard, 100% healthy, by himself with good serviceable backup, kind of similar to what he was, a young guy, that's fine. The Cowboys draft somebody or maybe like a veteran, he easily could be the number 1 running back overall in fantasy football in that offense.
Yeah, and you were saying this last year too.
Last year, and right. he showed you that he could do that. I mean, he showed if they would just took Elliott off the field like literally just kept him off the field, Pollard would have done so much more.
Charlie, I think we got you back here. Let's go back to Lamar Jackson. I'm concerned if he does get tagged by the Ravens that he may not want to play on that tag. He's going, we mentioned it with Turp, he's going as quarterback 7 right now in the FFPC Never Too Early tournament. Beg your pardon, quarterback 5 at the end of the 4th round. Would you be concerned about drafting Lamar Jackson that high?
A lot of people really love Lamar, but I've never cared for him that much. He's just too many problem, injury concerns. I'm from Kentucky, and I watched him play at Louisville, and I never was impressed with his arm strength and his running ability, of course. But no, I would stay away from him unless he was given to me. I was asking for an unbelievable $250 million or something like that. That money fully guaranteed. And
that's craziness.
I don't like these guys that cause so much, issues, and always complaining about something. I just stay away from them. It's just a personal thing. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't have Lamar at all unless he's, like I said, somebody give it to me in the 12th round.
Well, okay, let's talk about the round before that, the 11th round. Ezekiel Elliott. Do you want to be on board with Ezekiel Elliott in the 11th round right now, Charlie?
No. I'm a Cowboy fan.
That's really unfortunate you're a Cowboys fan. I wish I would have known that before the show started.
Yeah. He's a decent backup right now. I kind of even hesitate a little bit on that, but the depth, and I think he's going to take a tremendous pay cut and stay with Dallas because, like Dave was saying, I don't think anybody he would have asked. So now you guys going to have to face going to hurt, but I'll have to say bye-bye to him.
What about are the Packers going to say bye-bye to Aaron Rodgers? Where do you think he's playing in 2023? Do you think he is playing in 2023, Charlie?
I'm sorry, ask that again, Eric.
Aaron Rodgers, where do you think he's going to be playing football in 2023? Is he going to be in Green Bay or is it going to be with another team?
Well, Aaron, you ever know about that? I would like to see him go to the Jets. Jets have got an outstanding nucleus for him. I think he would really help him. But I don't know what Aaron's going to do, and a lot of people really kind of written him off. Don't think he does anymore because he changed. But I'd like to see him go to the Jets. I think it would really be a step for him. And maybe another player because I really worry about Tag if he gets another concussion. I think he's gone. So We don't know. It's just that's a tough field there. You don't know what Aaron's going to do.
Yeah, and right now, as I look at the never too early ADP for Aaron Rodgers, which, by the way, shout out to Darren Armani at Fantasy Mojo on Twitter, fantasymojo.com. Anytime I cite ADP or anything like that on this show, it's all because of him. Make sure you're signing up there at fantasymojo.com. Aaron Rodgers, quarterback 18 right now at the 10-11. So people have been fading him a little bit, but, maybe too much at this point. I don't know, because wherever he goes, he's going to play. All right, so we teased this at the top of the interview, Charlie. $50,000 in the Football Guys Playoff Challenge. That's a nice chunk of change. What are your plans for that cash? Have you spent it all already? What are you doing with that money, man?
No, it was just put into my week. Homeless, put a little win, now they don't need anything. Just to have one, and one fortunate as I am.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, and you're fading in and out there a little bit. Is the majority being saved then, Charlie? Are you saving most of it?
I'm sorry.
Are you you're cutting in and out a little bit? Are you saving most of the money then? Rainy day, got it. That's the nice little rainy day fund. Well, for sure.
Like you said, yeah.
Final question for you, Charlie, here, and I apologize that we couldn't have a better connection for you on the show tonight, but can you give us a guy that you really like this year that you'll be drafting, and then a guy that you don't think you're going to have on any teams? Just one player for each one.
Well, I liked Jets rookie receiver. He's rookie last year. I like it. And if Aaron goes to the Jets, I really like him. Of course, you got Cooper Kupp also. Got to continue to watch him, see how he comes out of his injury. And really, right now, I don't. There's not too many people that would fade right now, other than Zeke. A few players like that that just failed to perform this past year. Just have to take a close look at the rosters and see who gets traded and figure out who are to go. Allen Robinson and Stafford this year. This past year, I had them on almost every team I had, and they let me down big time. No, I just have to wait and see if I want to wait.
You were not the only one.
I like the Jets receiver. I really like him a lot. I like him a lot. But I like. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Garrett Wilson you bring up too, and I like him too, and it's really surprising to me. He is going as wide receiver 11 in drafts right now at the end of the second round, so you do have to pay a premium to get Garrett Wilson. I would like to think that ADP will come down a little bit, but maybe it won't. Maybe that's just where he goes this year.
Should be higher.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like people are drafting him based on the Jets already having a great quarterback, and we don't know if they're going to have a great quarterback this year. We'll see if it gets higher. I think it's going to get a little bit lower, but that's just me. We'll see what happens. So. Charlie, listen, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations on the big 50K win in the Football Guys Playoff Challenge. I'm sure I'll be competing against you in the KFFSC this year. Good luck in the FFPC and all the other leagues you're playing in this year. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Friday night, man. We really appreciate it.
Eric Farrell had a lot of good friends, and I miss talking to them.
Yeah, he's out in Vegas. I did put two and two together.
God only knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably watching right now, no doubt. But I will definitely pass along the word. He's going to be disappointed he missed you this week. But I will definitely tell him that you said hi, and I will say hi to you in the KFFSC draft rooms, my friend. And I will say bye to you right now, Charlie. I think he's frozen again. Oh, there you go. We got the wave. We got the wave. All right, Charlie McGuire, ladies and gentlemen, joining us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, giving us some good nuggets there. Some stuff that I think I hadn't thought about. It's nice to have a $50,000 rainy day fund, though, Dave.
Seriously,
that's nice.
2 seconds already.
I always want, like, you know, because I haven't really come close. Well, I mean, in the NFFC and whatever that was, 2008, was it, or 2010? I can't remember. 2011, one of those years. But that's when Kurt Awe and Dave Gerzak and myself, we won the prime time, and we split that up. And I don't really remember what I spent the money on. I think it helped pay for some of my schooling, which was good. But I didn't do anything fun with it.
Also, so boring.
You're totally boring. I'll tell you what I did. You know what I did remember? I bought, I don't know if you ever watched this show. It was on Comedy Central. Oh, God. How many years ago was it now? It was like a mid-90s, late 90s show. It was an animated show. Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist. Dave, do you remember that? Or was that before your time?
Before my time. I think I was
6. It was basically a half-hour show, animated, and it was this guy, a therapist, who would see all these famous comedians, and these comedians would come in as themselves. You know, Dom Herrera, Ray Romano would come on, Conan O'Brien, all these guys, and they would just basically tell jokes on the couch. Like, you know, they would talk about their life, and it was very funny to me. I enjoyed it. I bought the entire series on DVD. That was like my one big purchase.
Way to splurge.
Yeah, exactly. And then the rest of it I spent on school like an idiot. And now look where the school's got me. I'm sitting here home on a Friday night. At least I get to talk with you and hang out with you.
Positives.
But yes, those are the positives. Always looking at the silver lining, man. All right, let's get into what do I want to talk about here next. Let's just go right to the emails, and we'll bring this up. The first one is from Mike in Framingham, Massachusetts. Any hope for the Texans this year? Who do you guys like from Houston? Thanks so much. That's Mike in Framingham, Massachusetts. So the Texans have a new ball coach down there. They are going to have a new offense, and things are trending up. I mean, they could get their signal caller of the future in the draft here. I think they will. And they have some weapons there. You think about John Mechie and Nico Collins, obviously Damian Pierce down there. I don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Cooks. I don't think he really lines up with the growth schedule for the Texans.
He won't be there.
So, but who do you like for players that will be there, Turp?
Damian Pierce is definitely a guy that I think is going to be – he's very underdrafted right now in drafts. I feel like you saw enough last year. Is it a possibility the new coaching staff, goes and gets, some options, rookie-wise? They have a lot of draft picks. I love the hire of D'Amico Ryans. I think he's going to really it's going to be – I'll make the statement now. I think it's going to be Texans, Jaguars from a really, down the road. Not yet. Jaguars are a clear-cut team in that division. Mm-hmm. I could see Ryans if they get their quarterback, which is the most important thing, no matter what anybody tries to tell you. If they get their quarterback, whether it's Young if he falls, I don't think he will. Stroud, if they believe in Richardson, I just think that the team has so many. Mechie coming back.
Yep.
He came back. Obviously, the illness was no joke and could have been career threatening. But he's a tough kid. Loved him last year. Loved him coming out of Alabama. If it wasn't for that freak injury that he had, he would have went higher. Maybe Brevin Jordan gets come back from the dead. I mean, he was a popular breakout guy last year who just never got on the field, which still to me makes no sense because you saw flashes before. You would think a good coaching staff, which they didn't have last year, with Lovie Smith, who I've been very outspoken how bad he was.
Right.
I just think the Texans have a very bright future. Solid defensive players. Young kids who are ready to go. It looks like they all came out for the press conference. That's always a good sign. Some young kids don't want to be a part of that. I think Ryan's going to, come in there day one and turn that franchise around.
I think some of the GOAT District guys are on John Mechie late in best balls. I know I've drafted him.
Definitely more Mechie over Collins for me.
I mean,
Collins last year a lot.
And it's not like a knock on Collins, but to me, I think Collins can be okay, but to me, Mechie is he represents the upside. And I don't want to be drafting like Steady Eddie type guys at the end of
No.
the draft. I want to be drafting guys that
Upside.
have
You said it
spike
perfect.
weeks, upside. Yeah, that's what you want late in drafts. Let's go. And by the way, you mentioned Damian Pierce. Should point out running back 20 right now at the 509, right behind.
There's a
Javonte
lot of great
Williams.
running back values. I mean, everybody's doing the whole draft receivers and tight ends early and quarterbacks early right now. I mean, all the drafts, I haven't done many drafts yet, but the ones that I've seen and, obviously saw on Twitter, there's a ton of just stacking receivers and then just filling in these running backs. And right now, it's definitely the way to do it. I think the values will change eventually as we get closer to the summer and get closer to drafting season. But Pierce right now is a gift where he's getting.
Yeah, totally.
Him and Cam Akers right now are the best values in fantasy football.
I just drafted Cam Akers this past Sunday in one of my leagues. I will say that the one thing that does concern me about Pierce is the Texans drafting another running back early.
There's a lot of talented kids in the draft, like you said, or if they decide to bring in a veteran, which there's plenty of them out there too.
Right. Next email. Let's get. I don't know what I'm doing here. Next email. Jim in Columbus, Georgia. If Deontay Foreman re-signs with the Panthers, does he become a nice sleeper this season? Thanks, guys. We thank you, Jim in Columbus, Georgia, for watching and for emailing. Foreman, running back 47 right now in the 13th round. Deuce Staley, who is the new running backs coach in Carolina and assistant head coach there, said he would like to use 3 backs. Now, a coach saying this is what he'd like to do and it actually happening, we know are 2 different things. But the fact that Deuce Staley is coming from Detroit, where they did use 2 backs, it does give me a little bit of concern. But man, Foreman at the 13th round, 13-14 turn, after a season in which we gave up, the Panthers for dead after they traded McCaffrey, and that running game didn't really miss a beat. I mean, Foreman was awesome down the stretch.
I mean, he was awesome, but I don't want him to sign in Carolina. Like you said, with Staley coming over, when he was in Philadelphia, everybody said he should have been the new coach, blah, 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 blah. Then he goes to Detroit and pretty much ruined that running back room. Like handing the balls off to guys who just don't. I mean, DeAndre Swift is clearly the best. All right, Jamal Williams is a nice player, but how many touchdowns did he have last year?
I think 15. I want to say
15 touchdowns for Jamal Williams. That says enough out of that. What I think out of the running back room. He's not a 15 touchdown guy. So he's going to Carolina. He's already coming out saying he wants to use 3 guys. I don't want Foreman to be one of them. I would love to see him go to a different, team. Off the top of my head, what fits? Nothing's popping up, but there's plenty of spots out there that I think his talent can be used. And man, I mean, if he gets the right spot, running back, you said 74. That's
47. 47. Did I say 74? I meant 47 if I said 74.
No matter what it is, 47, 74 is insane value right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely a guy that you hope does not go back to Carolina. And if he doesn't, geez, I mean, he could be, if he just stayed in that division and go to some team like the Saints, the potential is there for, great value right now because you're not going to get it once he signs.
I would even tell you Atlanta too. I mean, I know they got Algier there, but man, you get Foreman and Algier. That's a nice combo, especially with how much Arthur Smith
maybe. I mean,
Buffalo's another one for sure. Yeah.
Taking the Singletary role a little bit, goal line type of thing. I know Josh Allen's still there, but obviously, getting a lot of those touches. But running back 47 is a good value right now.
Good value indeed in the never too early FFPC best ball tournament. Vince in Roselle, New Jersey. Are you guys avoiding Cardinals this year with all the changes going on in Arizona? Now, Terp, I think I'm teeing you up for this one because correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't you telling people to avoid Cardinals last year too?
Fade them all last year. And then I was here on one of these shows. We did a draft, and I took Kyler Murray, and I still haven't recovered. I still haven't recovered mentally.
I remember that.
I said, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to put Kyler Murray on one of my teams. And that team, I look back at it, and it was a team that was pretty good. But he was terrible. And that Jonathan Gannon, I mean, he was good. He was good. The key word's good in Philadelphia. Never great. Never adjusted in the playoffs. I mean, he had 2 cake matchups, and then when the second half against the Chiefs was just so painful to watch. They did nothing to it. Mahomes never wanted to go down the field. He just let him dink and dunk. He's bringing up nightmares right now. They haven't brought in an offensive coordinator that I feel is worthy. Kyler Murray might not be ready for the regular season. I mean, there's just too much questions in Arizona. Full fade. I mean, I was not right about James Conner last year. I mean, he was absolutely, very, very good. But he also got a lot of those stats at the end of the year when it really didn't matter.
So the Cardinals thing, I want to bring this up. This is interesting because the guy that Gannon hired as his offensive coordinator is Drew Petzing. Now, Drew Petzing worked with Gannon when they were both in Minnesota, right? Yes, in Minnesota, he was a wide receivers coach there. He was also the tight ends coach for Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. This past year, he was still in Cleveland, but he was just the quarterbacks coach there. So kind of a promotion, the quarterbacks coach, just 1 year. Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Cardinals. He's 35 years old, and Gannon is a defensive guy, right? So
he's not calling a single offensive play.
Right. I mean, this is Drew Petzing's show, and there's a lot of unknowns here, which could be okay.
It could be okay.
It gives you a lot of red flags, though. Kyler Murray's not going to be ready for the start of the season. It sounds like Colt McCoy's not going to be ready for the start of the season. You have a lot of rumors that Hopkins is going to be traded. And
Ertz probably on his way out.
And he could be on his way out. Now, they still have McBride. They still have
Brown,
and then Rondale Moore. Maybe he'll get more of a chance this year. I don't know. He's got to stay healthy. That's the problem. And then speaking of staying healthy, it's James Conner in the backfield. And then what else there?
Keontae Ingram. I mean, there's not much there. That's like,
I mean, they'll be signing somebody. They have to draft somebody. But I'm with you. Like, I'm not really seeing a lot of reason to be bullish on the Cardinals right now at all.
Kyler Murray is number 2 on the list. I said there was 2 guys on the list. I will never draft Kyler Murray.
Not draft. You learned your lesson.
You hear me on this show, you can fly down to Philadelphia, knock on my door, and literally just pistol whip me, please, because I am not draft. I still look back at that Kyler Murray team. If I just tweaked it like 2 players, could have been done some damage. It was painful to look back at.
Our guest tonight, Charlie McGuire, I don't know how close he is to Lexington, Kentucky, but Randy is emailing us from there. He wants to know, this dates back to conversations that we had on the show last year too, Turb. Mm-hmm. Is Treylon Burks going to be the second-year wideout who makes the biggest fantasy leap? Thank you. That is Randy in Lexington, Kentucky. Randy, thank you for watching and emailing. I'll give you the floor to talk about Treylon Burks here. He really came on at the end of the season, and he's a guy that I think I don't know how much more Olave, guys like that are going to jump up in year 2. I think there's a lot of room for Burks to jump up.
There's plenty of room for him to, jump up. That Robert Wood just got released the other day. They're going to be in the market for some veteran receivers. You would think. I mean, you would think they open up the offense a little bit with Tannehill coming back off injury. Hopefully, it's not Malik Willis because he looked dreadful last year.
Yeah, he's not ready.
Is there a world where they might draft a quarterback or sign one of these veterans to compete with Tannehill? I hope so.
Yeah,
because Burks is a talented kid. He showed enough flashes for me. I was very high on him last year. It was like the perfect storm. Injuries, off the field stuff. The injuries with Tannehill. Them just giving Derrick Henry the ball 600 times a game. That's just not a winning formula. So his upside is so high, but I don't know if he gets there in that offense. They changed offensive coordinators, and that's cool and all, but I don't trust Tannehill. Derrick Henry's still there. They're not just going to stop giving him the ball. And every time it is 25 touch games, is there enough upside for Burks to get there? I love him, but I feel like he's going to get to a point where he's going to get too high. Right now, I think he's in a good spot, but the hype, puff piece is he's having a great camp. He's the guy.
Yeah. That's
going to get him up to where you're, in a little bit of a Cortland Sutton danger territory that you got to this year, where everybody was Cortland Sutton, push him up. And then it just fell flat. Them hype monsters get you in trouble in the preseason.
Right now, Treylon Burks is going. I'm with you. I like him in the spot where he is, wide receiver 37.
Good spot.
At the end of the 7th round. I'm speaking of hype monsters. He is going right behind Jamison Williams right now in drafts. And speaking of Cortland Sutton, he's going right in front of Cortland Sutton, who's wide receiver 38 in drafts right now.
Didn't plan that.
No. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Rashad Bateman right after that. Let's go to our final email. Our final email tonight. Brendan in Cushing, Oklahoma. What's up, guys? I know Balky's been calling him the thief, but is it wrong to stay away from Evan Engram this season in FFPC drafts? So here's my thought on Evan Engram. And I told Farrell this on the program over the course of the 2022 season. And I said, there's going to be a team that is going to see what Evan Engram did this year, and they're going to give him a ton of cash. Now, that still could be Jacksonville because he worked out so well with the Jaguars this past year. That's probably the best fit for him. But I called him the thief because I think he is going to be, if you look at his track record in the NFL, he is going to be stealing money from somebody going forward. Now, maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But what I do know is this. Evan Engram is going as the tight end 9 at the 701, right in front of Pat Freiermuth, right behind Dalton Schultz. Your thoughts, Dave Tripoli, on Evan Engram at in the early 7th round at 701?
Obviously, the big question is where does he stay? Where does he go? Does he stay in Jacksonville? If he stays in Jacksonville, no issues whatsoever with him getting drafted there. Absolutely none. Great offense. An offense that could be a top 5, if not higher offense. So much talent with Ridley coming in there, Kirk, Zay Jones, Ingram, ETN taking the next step. No issues there. He's not even in the same Freiermuth, Ingram over Freiermuth 100 times over 100. Schultz, it's just a question again where he goes. But if Ingram goes to a place, there's so many just disaster zones that he could go to just to get his paycheck and move on. I think he's a very talented player, but he's also a guy that could easily get lost in an offense, just like he did with the Giants.
Well, I mean, and he's had problems staying healthy, and he's had a ton of problems with drops over the course of his career that all of a sudden in 2022, he didn't really have a problem with that. Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he fixed it or what. I hope he did.
There's so many teams that he could go to, like off the top of my head, like that he could go to, like Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might get a bag there, but where's he catching the ball?
Houston is another team that could use a tight end, and they're going to have some cash.
Maybe they get the right rookie quarterback and it works out. But the Bears, they still have Cole Kmet, but they have a ton of cap space and they need to get weapons for Fields. You would think if Fields is still the guy. Is there a possibility he goes there? I hope not. I hope he stays in Jacksonville. If he stays in Jacksonville, I can draft him higher than tight end 9 personally, but he's definitely a guy that's surrounded by the questions because if he gets the bag like you think he's going to, it could be a bad bag, and them things sometimes could be just a massive disaster for fantasy football.
They haven't done it yet, but I read a beat reporter's report in Los Angeles that the Chargers could part ways with Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett. And I know you don't really cut guys like that to sign, to give a lot of money to somebody else. But if Evan Engram ended up in Los Angeles,
could be a top 5 tight end.
Boy, and Justin Herbert and Kellen Moore there now, that could be really fun.
Ton of talent there. You saw what he did with Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
I think Kellen Moore going there is very, very good for the Chargers.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
The question is their cap's hell. They're in cap hell right now.
Right.
So cutting Keenan Allen and Everett, like you said, it's just do they have the money to dance with Evan Engram?
All right. So this is the final question, Terp. Number one, my apologies to your Eagles not getting it done in the Super Bowl.
Over it.
They have some free agents to sign, but the NFC is weak. They could get back there this season. That's not what I want to ask you, though. Are your North Carolina Tar Heels going to make the big dance? Question we have to be asking.
Did you bring me on the show for that?
No.
It's just literally I'm depressed watching them.
Well, are they because Carolina has been a team that, if I remember correctly, has not snuck into the tournament before, but had a lower seed and did some damage.
They were in the national championship last year. They beat Duke. I have the picture right behind me of Caleb Love making the shot over Mark Williams. It's my happiest moment of my sports career of any sports. That includes Super Bowl. That includes anything.
Wow.
Nothing will ever top that, unless they beat Duke in the national championship. But they better, man. I can't. After what just happened to the Eagles and happened to the Phillies, and now, who knows with the Sixers. I'm not really a big Sixers guy, but we get to March Madness and I don't see North Carolina's name. I'm going to be one very, very sad person in the offseason.
9-8, 17-11 right now. They still have to play Duke, although it's not been.
They got Virginia at home. They got Duke at home. Florida State on the road. Win those 3 games. The name will get them in the tournament.
I think so. I think the name plays a part.
They're not doing themselves any favors right now because I watched more North Carolina than normally this year, and they are just very bad.
Terp, it has been a pleasure. It has been
Always
an honor.
is.
thank you so much for sitting in with me tonight. Follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Turp. You will see his mug on these programs going forward this coming season. I'm sure you and I are going to hook up for some
100%.
best ball main event coverage, all that good stuff that we did last year. Enjoy your Friday night, my friend, and thank you so much for
Thanks,
popping
brother.
by.
Have a good one.
You bet. Dave Turp, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Turpoli, who joined the show tonight, filling in for Farrell Elliott, who's living it up with the Dizzle. Farrell Elliott, who's living it up with the Dizzle. Farrell's buddy Fenton, and then, of course, another friend of the show, Steve Hutcherson, all partying out in Vegas this weekend. I want to thank Dave. I want to thank Charlie McGuire. I want to thank the FFPC, Rob Bryson, of course, each and every one of you. Farrell will return next week, and we got a big show next week. We have a ton of guests. The show will be live at 10/9 Central on Friday, and we will have the 2022-2023 world-famous FFPC Playoff Challenge $500,000 grand prize winners. Judd Rosengart, Tim Hall, Stephen Aarons, and Phil Orban will all join the program next week, along with myself and Farrell Elliott. Don't forget to check out the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network this coming Thursday night at 7/6 Central on the Better Sports Network app. Had Pat Corain on from NBC Sports Edge and the Ship Chasing Podcast. A lot of fun to chop it up with him for 2 hours last night. We're getting great guests on there as well as on this show. So make sure you're downloading the Better Sports Network app in the Google Play Store, in the App Store. It's free, and you get a lot of chance to win prizes on that too when you're checking out the content. Check out the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball tournaments going on right now. The standard one, non-Superflex, $25,000 grand prize, $125 entry fee. You can also plunk down $35 and win a $5,000 grand prize in the Never Too Early Superflex Best Ball tournament as well. Again, both tournaments running up until the NFL draft, a 14-week regular season, and then 3-week playoffs where we'll be single elimination, and then we'll crown a champion after that. 2-hour, 6-hour clocks for the draft times right now, as well as 30-second sit and goes and 60-second timers as well. Dynasty Orphans, plenty of those available at myffpc.com. Make sure you're cashing in on those. Picking up some teams that are ready to compete this year. Many of them are ready to go this year. You can pick up an orphan, reduce price, and run it all the way to a title in 2023. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share, get notified so we continue to produce all the great content that we do on the FFPC YouTube channel. And thanks for watching, everybody. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
In honor of Aaron Rodgers, who just came out of his darkness retreat, which I don't think lasted 4 days. I think it was only 2 days that he lasted for his darkness retreat. I am also going to retreat to the now done and get ready for next week's show. But I hope everybody else, whether you're partying, hanging out tonight, doing whatever, or you're hitting the sack shortly like I will be in like an hour or two. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Appreciate you.